price range we're talking about and the size.
What about finished living space above the garage or something like that?
Okay, so the differences in living area, the kind of like the rule of thumb, if you will, that I use is if you take your average or your sale price per square foot on your comparables, the properties that you consider comparable, the rule of thumb that I use is 30% of that average is somewhere around where I'd like to be when I make my adjustment for differences in living area. The reason is that when you've got a sale of a house, it includes land. And so one of the things that you kind of need to do is separate the land from the improvements in order to begin the adjustment for differences in living area. Does that make sense? Okay, so you take out the land, whatever it might be. You can either do it on an individual basis because every parcel is going to have a different value, but that's why I'm using the rule of thumb scenarios. I don't have time to figure out each comp's land value. So I look at roughly 30% of the average. Newer houses, because more of the total value is improvement related, because it is newer and it hasn't depreciated, I will tend to be a little bit higher than that. And then older houses, I will tend to be a little bit lower than that. So that's kind of the rule of thumb.
What's an additional bath for it?
An additional bath, I think we all pretty much look at the number of fixtures, quarter fixtures. Anywhere from, I think Bob uses 5,000 per quarter on some houses. You ever been in that high?
I use probably about 2,500 for a half bath, 5,000 for a full bath. Depends again on attributable value. It depends again on attributable value in that property. If you're $1 million property, a full bath is going to be worth considerably more than it is on a $200,000 property. And so you try to quantify it and say what is the contributory value in that sale or in that adjustment.
Well, I was just going to speak to the way we use paired sales, just like you guys do. But you have a two-bed, in a perfect scenario, you got a two-bedroom, a two-car garage in the townhome, and then you got a model match with a one-car garage in that townhome. You look at paired sales and you say, okay, well, this is a $19,000 amenity based on these two sales. Whenever possible, that's what we're going to do to base our adjustments on. It's not always there, and I appreciate Mike bringing up the point that we can't just simply take the price per square foot on a sale and apply that to our square footage adjustments, because we're separating bathroom count, land, quality of construction, condition, all those and amenities, all those things also are taken into effect, but not just boom on the price per square foot. So, but the rule of thumb, frankly, I hadn't heard that one, and it sounds real good. It's about where I'm at, but I never came to it that way. Yeah.
Bill, getting a little bit off this, but more, I think, at least I have questions on is a new law. In the old days, when we knew who was doing the appraisal, we could call and just say, here are some comps you may or may not have known about. Can we now do that through the lender? And when we, say, here's some property, can you forward this on to whoever this appraiser is to have them look at that because they may or may not know about these? Is that appropriate and allowable?
Honestly, I think that's going to be viewed as influence on the appraiser. With that being said, if there's ever if I'm doing a purchase and the realtor has left some comps on the table, I'm always going to grab them, and 9 out of 10 times they're the same. But I want these guys to answer that too, because I'm not sure. But I don't think under HBCC the lender is going to be able to accept comps from the realtor and push them to the appraiser.
Well, I guess it's one of those things. It doesn't hurt to try. Once it's already been assigned, you have not influenced that lender and who is getting that assignment. So you can say, hey, I know of some private sales that have happened. That appraiser, I don't know who he is. I haven't heard from him yet. Here's a couple comps. I'm going to email you. Can you push these up the pole so that they at least know about them? honestly, whatever you guys know, if we're doing our job, we should know as well. It's not to say that we do, because there are things that happen, but as far as the influence on that, it might be perceived as such, but if you hear from that appraiser for access, and you're working with the selling broker, or vice versa, you can say, make sure when that appraiser calls for access, because he has to get into the house, and he's going to call your office, make sure he has these comps. And so you're working with your front desk, because that's usually who we're talking to, or you're, at least laying them out there so that they're available. And that's probably the only way I'd see that you'd be able to have them out there. If you send them up the pipeline with these AMCs, they'll probably show up about a month after it's closed. So I don't know if that's really a worthwhile endeavor.
I was just going to follow up on Russ's question and Bill's comment, or part of it anyways, that going back to the living area, bath adjustment, garage adjustment, and separating out improvement value versus land value, one of the other reasons why you don't just take your sale price per square foot on the total transaction price is because A, you've got land in that sale price per square foot, and B, you've got other components to the house or non-living area related items that you don't want to necessarily double count. So in other words, a bathroom square footage is living area. Well, if you adjust for your fixtures, differences in fixtures, and you adjust for your living area, because it is living area, then you essentially double adjusted to a certain extent. So in terms of taking the sale price less the land value, less your garage, because you're already going to adjust for it separately on the line in an appraisal anyways, and perhaps in your CMAs. But you've also got the number of fixtures that you might adjust for differently. There are other issues like quality of finishes that you might adjust for separately. So if you start backing out the things that you don't necessarily want to double adjust for, or shouldn't adjust for, double adjust for, then you end up with a number for the living area adjustment that is less than the sale price per square foot of the total property.
I think we have time for 2 more questions.
I have a question in regard to the topography of a lot of our homes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So when we have walkouts that have full basements that have a walkout that include bedrooms and another break room and another bathroom, when you figure your appraisals on that, do you just figure that as being basement versus what you consider above grade for living area? I know there's a distinction between the two.
On the walkouts, even though they may be classified differently by the assessor, I will include those in living area. And Mark thinks that's funny. He's going to be up here in a few minutes, and we'll get to heckle him. And I brought all my questions. So, but we'll get to. I include the walkout level if it's finished to the same quality and it's a functional and useful part of the house. I include that in living area. I've been in situations or houses where, for example, it's a walkout, finished lower level, but all it is one big open room, like a